Joel. So in this episode, we're going to talk about Spike Lee's She's Gotta Have It. It was Timothy's idea for us to do this film.
Throw me under the bus.
Yeah, because he likes it a lot, and he wanted us to talk about it in depth, to dive deep into it. It's a Spike Lee film, his first feature film from, what year was it? 1986. That's 30 years ago or so. So Spike Lee, if by any chance you have no idea who Spike Lee is, has done films like Do the Right Thing, Malcolm X, Jungle Fever, School Days. What am I missing?
Inside Man.
He even did a remake
Chirac.
of your favorite film. He did a remake of
Oh yeah,
Old Boy.
Old Boy.
Fuck that movie.
He's a very notable black director, one of the higher Black American directors. So She's Gotta Have It is his first film, and it's shot in black and white. Just has one beautiful scene in color. But in case you've seen anything about it, it's going to actually be adapted into a TV show on Netflix. 10 episodes, just the way a film, although more recent, like Dear White People, was adapted into a TV show. Also, She's Gotta Have It is going to be adapted into a TV show. So, about the film, the story is about a girl called Nola who has 3 different men in her life who she's having sexual relations with. And the 3 men are quite different. They represent different archetypes of men in society, really. And I have 3 different men here also to help me talk about this film, which is I'm nothing like Nola, but anyway. So these 3 men, there's Jamie, Greer, and Maz. Jamie is the reliable nice guy. Greer is self-obsessed and snobby, while Maz, played by Spike Lee himself, is a juvenile, weird, just nerdy. Do you know in the modern day term what they would refer to him as? A fuckboy? Yeah, in the modern day fuckboy. That's who
Fuckboy number 1.
So that's the premise of the film. I found it very documentary. Okay, it is documentary-ish style because they all speak to the camera, talking about Nola and her situation with these 3 different men.
I consider myself normal, whatever that means. Some people call me a freak. I hate that word. I don't believe in it. Better yet, I don't believe in labels. But what are you gonna do? It's about control. My body, my mind. Who's gonna own it, them or me? I am not a one-man woman.
I'll give the person who suggested the film the honors to speak about it first.
Okay. Where do I start now? Okay. She's Gotta Have It, Spike Lee's 1986 feature film, is his first, and in many ways it's one of the landmark films of like American independent cinema, which sort of took root in the mid 80s, like really caught steam with films like Jim Jarmusch. You've seen Stranger Than Paradise?
Stranger Than Paradise.
Yeah, those are basically the films at the time, like basically from guys who are film students or working under directors' proteges. That came out at the time, yeah, and it actually did quite well. I think for this time it's one of the most successful black films. Yeah, and one of the things I like the most about this film is because it might be I know we've spoken about guys like Sembene before and all that, but I would say it's the first film, the oldest film I think by an African American that I really like the most. Because the films before that, I think the black directors before Spike Lee at the time who were really prominent, there was William Greaves. I don't know if you watched Symbiotoxiplasm, is some weird documentary. It's iconic also. There's Gordon Parks who made Shaft. Then there was someone who came later on, Charles Burnett, who made Kill of Sheep, 1978. So those were like the African American guys at the time. And I feel Spike Lee kind of combines all 3 of those, because I feel this film has both a character drama, unlike most blaxploitation films which rely heavily on like cliche or like archetypes, that kind of thing. It's very different. I feel in a way it's also poetic in its style, a bit like the films of Charles Burnett, because in it you have those those montages you have of like just pictures in the film, or like there's a dance number, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Then again, I feel it also embodies William Greaves in the way it's a bit experimental, because even in this, as there are scenes where the actors talk directly to the camera and that kind of thing. So I feel he combined those three filmmakers quite well in this. About the story itself, it's basically this free 80s black woman living in Brooklyn, and her very free life. It's a very different representation of African women that we've seen in film. Like even recently, when you see people like Viola Davis in movies, either she's playing like this mother figure or this nanny, that kind of thing. It was a very different, and I don't think we've seen very many representations of black women exactly like. Maybe, I don't know. I'm sure there are shows like Single Ladies that probably try to pull that off. Those I haven't watched Single Ladies. I'm just imagining from the title. It's probably that kind of thing. You can edit that out. Don't worry. I feel compared to most films by black people in America at the time, this one was heavily character driven. Because basically we have this one, the main protagonist, and there's this, is it a triangle or a square? I don't know, there are three guys this time. Three, and actually four, because there's also a woman. So it's her and her relationship with these three men who are all her lovers, and also this fourth woman. She's not key in the story. She comes in the beginning and at the end, yeah, but it also represents a different aspect of her freeness. So I feel the characters with Maz. Let me start with Maz. He's not the main guy. Maz is more of the childish, juvenile, the one who makes her laugh, basically. Then Jamie is as you said, Mr. Reliable, the good guy, the ideal guy usually that women probably want to end up for. Is very devoted to her and all that. Then the other one is Greer Childs, I think, who is something, I don't know, maybe in the film's subtext, something they represent or something. Maz represents her fun side. Jamie represents her need for stability, while Greer more represents this sort of thing she aspires to, maybe betterment in a way. Like they all represent these three things that probably women look for in men, and this time it's not in one man, it's like in three different guys, so she has to deal with them. Yeah, so
one can satisfy.
Yeah.
Okay, Nick, you're
what
next.
do you think about the movie?
Okay, cool. This movie is an interesting piece to me because I enjoy a lot of the works of Spike Lee. He has a very refreshing take on the experience of an African American man living in America. Okay, so this one depicts, like Tesh said, an African American woman in a relationship with multiple men and possibly another woman. She's very sexually liberated, and all of these people is presented in a documentary like format. They're all trying to explain her to the camera, okay, and she's also trying to explain herself. I think that part's very interesting because I don't think any of the subjects explaining this character understand the character themselves, including herself. The one that I find interesting for the purpose of this podcast is going to be Greer Childs, because this guy this guy stands out to me. First of all, from his name, Greer Childs, it strikes me as they're supposed to depict this guy as an infantile version of a man. Okay, his idea of what a man ought to be is very infantile, very childish. I'm supposed to be the most attractive, the strongest, the most successful, the richest, and as long as I'm this, the woman doesn't even matter. As long as she can match up to me, that's all that matters. Okay. Also, just like a child, he's extremely insecure. So as long as she even mildly threatens to leave him, you see him changing his tune in a very smug sort of way, like, Nola, I wouldn't even be with you if you weren't attractive. And then she says, I don't want to hear that shit again. It's like, whatever, man. When you come around, I'll be here waiting. That's the kind of guy Greer Childs is. He's a childish Greer. That's him. Okay? This guy comes off to me like he's trying to do the best he can for the two of them. But she's not. The thing is, he assumes their relationship is based on him, whereas he forgets the other person involved in this relationship is a human being, and she has 4 other people involved, and that's a whole other mess he can't even comprehend. When they have the whole dinner party thing, and they will show up, he just sees.
Set that up, please. Set up the scene, like how it happened.
Here's a scene. I'll paint for you like Rachel. This lady, who I'm trying to court, calls up these 3 people, these 3 men, and she wants them to come to terms with each other because they all know about each other.
Yes.
And they're all courting the same woman. They've been having sexual relationships with her for a while, and it's becoming a mess. They can't coexist together. So she wants them to, come to terms with it, which is very naive on her part, but that's up to her. Okay, so she calls these 3 men to have a Thanksgiving dinner with her, and they're supposed to somehow talk it out, come to terms, and leave. Naturally, this ends up being a very, dick measuring contest between the 3 men, and also a very nasty clash of insecurities between the 3 of them. Greer Childs, the guy I'm representing, sees Mars as this infantile, inadequate waste of her time, and he sees this other guy as nobody. He actually barely addresses him throughout the entire dinner, if you notice. He sees him as a non-threat, because that's what he is. Greer Childs, he's the macho man in this situation. He doesn't take into account what she thinks of them. Of course, as the dinner plays out, in the end, all the others leave except the one he sees as a non-threat, including himself. She chases them away because they were acting childish. The guy he thought he was a child and hence threatened, and him himself, whose literal name is Childs. Anyway, that's the in my view, that's the relationship between these 4 people. They're all trying to court a woman. It's a sexual relationship, but all the men are trying to interpret her in the sense of themselves, whereas she is only viewing their aspects as what she would want in a man. Obviously, they all end up losing each other. She loses all 3, and each of them lose her, which is the only way this was going to end. It's a nice movie. I liked it.
Dope. Joel?
Awesome. This is my new favorite Spike Lee movie. I only saw it today. So to me, the movie is about this lady named Nora, and you have Nola, and you have these 3 dudes sort of vying for possession of her sexuality. Is the way that I saw it. Because you have Nola, she's like this free-spirited creature. She's a wanderer, sort of. She's this wandering soul. She's not really committing herself to anything in particular. She's figuring herself out. But she's constantly bombarded with this pressure to be a certain way as a woman. From both really toxic elements and also even well-meaning elements. I mean, even a guy like Jamie, who you'd think, like socially, you'd see him as, this is a perfect guy. He's good. He wants to settle down with her. Wants to give her everything she wants. But he's trying to possess her as well. He doesn't want to share her with anyone. He wants her for himself. And gets to, and he sort of rears his ugly head, because you have like a scene somewhere in the movie where he sort of borderline rapes her. Yeah, that's for me where like reared its ugly head, and this dude actually wants to possess her too. And yeah, I did like the archetypes. I liked Greer. He was a funny nigga. He's sort of this bougie black man. I mean, his parting shot is he's going to find himself a white woman at the end.
Actually, Maz calls him a pseudo black man.
Exactly, that's what he was. And Mars is just this infant-like child, like on the road to nowhere. So I remember he talks about how he has no job, but he has $50 sneakers.
How do I do that?
Yeah, that shit was interesting. And Nola sort of latches onto these different elements like in each character. I think for Jamie it's like emotion, things of the heart, and for Greer maybe it's status and gentrification or whatever. Then for what's his name, Maz. With Maz it's just this sort of fun-loving, dumbest guy.
He's a party animal.
Yeah, so I liked the bigger picture that it painted, and it sort of hits it home when she goes to see a psychiatrist. Because was it Greer that told her she was broken? Yeah. And the psychiatrist is like, no, your sex drive is normal. And I think she sort of comes to terms with that in the end, where she's like, this is who she is, and she shouldn't really have to change for anyone or anybody. And I loved that. As far as female characters go, I think she's one of the strongest. As far as stories go, this is one of the strongest I've ever seen put to screen. You had mentioned you like Spike Lee because of this whole narrative of like the African American man, and that's the reason I also loved most of his movies. I sort of liked Chirac, but that was a more style over substance movie. This was like oozing with substance, and for him to have written and directed a female character that well was very applaudable. And I'll just also briefly talk about the film's sense of style. At first I thought, ooh, another pretentious black and white movie when it opened, but it turned out actually work. It actually meant something. It wasn't like this, oh, look at me and how fancy I am. And I liked that you talked about that whole stylistic stuff with like the still shots, and I loved that shit. And there's that one scene also where it turns to color. I think
There's
Sharon,
no place like home.
Yeah,
Wizard
there's no
of
place
Oz.
like home. Yes, I love that as a Wizard of Oz reference. I personally didn't enjoy the dance sequence though. I liked the reference and that was about it. Dance sequence was like, okay, I get it. But it was an overall really, really great movie. I hope he does something of this caliber again at some
With the show.
with the show,
I hope he does.
I'm definitely psyched to see the show now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I really like this film a lot, especially for what it stands for. I like the way they treat Nola as a character because they speak about her in a very mature way. They don't make her come off as a nympho, as she says herself, or like a sex-obsessed character because she's a female who's
Boning.
Maybe
boning.
Maz.
Yes, Mars does, but the way the movie itself treats her, they don't make her come off that way. Instead, they actually make the men look really stupid for wanting to have her for their own. And it's very, for that time, I can imagine where, or in general, the way society sees things, especially people who have this cultured perspective, and how men, it's very okay for them to have multiple sexual partners to bone to different women. I just kept trying to imagine this with a man as the lead character. It would be almost any other movie because a man boning different girls is different from a girl saying I want to bone different men. So I really like that. So it's not the norm. They turn the tables on everything. And she's just sexually liberated. She wants to take charge of her sexuality. And I like the scenes where she's not sure. I actually liked the scene where she was almost at the point where she decided to be with one of the characters, but then changed her mind. And you'd see a sense of her self-discovery. I enjoyed that a lot because most times you're really not sure of what you want. You have a slim picture of what you want, but you're unsure. But she just really wanted to have control of her sexuality. She didn't want any of the men to have any control of anything, which control a lot of men like to have. I want to talk about the lesbian character though. I liked her a lot. I liked how she wasn't a stereotype lesbian woman. She's not what most of late I've been watching a lot of lesbian movies, and lesbian, they always have this way they look, mostly manly, and even the guy tells her, you don't look like, I would not look at you and think you're a lesbian. All people always think they can see a lesbian and know, and most times is she's not that attractive, and usually the narrative is you're not attractive, men haven't liked you, so you've switched to women. I really liked that character. I wish they had added her in the mix, but they didn't add her in the mix, which was okay. The men were interesting characters to look at too. I also want to talk about a particular scene which was actually my favorite scene. This scene where they show different men saying corny pickup lines that they would tell to a woman. That scene was hilarious. It actually brings the comedic part of it out a lot, which also Spike Lee's character has in the film throughout. Again, about Greer, another scene I liked a lot was the point where they were about to bone, and then he was folding his clothes one by one, just showing how like that was just weird. I don't even know how it meshes into his character as an egotistical, weird pseudo black man.
I think it does because it's very self-conscious.
Yes. No, just self-absorbed.
Yeah.
It's just so
As a content to
absurd.
let her wait for him.
I know, like what?
And again, I credit Spike Lee for that scene because again he defied all convention. Because usually a movie, if it's going to be sex, clothes are dropping, part jumping all over themselves, it's done, you know. So here they're going to have sex. He has to fast forward his clothes. The chick waits for a while. Then even just the way they shoot the sex scene, just from above, you know, like there's different cuts to them in different positions. Basically, it was an interesting way to shoot a sex scene, which I haven't really seen with the music, African music in the background. So,
Actually, a lot of the sex scenes were actually different. I like the way they showed her having sex with the different men, and it was quite different.
Yeah.
I like that.
it represented, I think, a lot their characters.
Yes, it
because with Greer, you can see, of course, before he folds his clothes, showing his self-consciousness and all that. Then they show him having sex, and of course, of all the three guys, I think he's the one who they probably show has more prowess, you know, with all that confidence. Then the other weird thing was with Jamie.
Yeah.
You know, usually there's this weird thing per se, like after sex, you know, the guys ask, get me a sandwich. She actually asked him to give her a massage. And he's willing, immediately, doesn't even waste time, he just begins massaging her. So again, they're showing how much more he likes catering towards her. Then for Maz, I think she just like ran her foot over his leg and the guy busted out real quick. Yeah, like again, they were showing again, even he wore like her hands on his face, like how childish. So again, I like the way they use sex in this story to kind of flesh out their character instead of just putting it there for the sake of like, man, this chick is hot, these are the guys hitting that. It was very different.
I know, it's quite, I don't know, daring may be the word, and especially for that time it was actually a seeing Spike Lee was saying he was worried how black people would take the film, and actually some people thought that he was being too accessible in his blackness, and right after that there's never been a film where he's not so political and coming off strongly, because after that he did School Days, which is quite political, and then Do the Right Thing. All the rest of his work is so different from this. This was very just a normal person. This story could work for any race, which was great. What else do you guys have to say? You haven't talked about the three-headed blah blah blah. What did you talk about?
Six.
This is Greer's thing, so I should probably come back
Probably
in.
the guy.
Greer's my shit. Greer, at some point in his summing up of Nola, just like every other guy attempted to sum up Nola, every character in this tried to sum up their experience with Nola and what she was as a person, including Nola herself. She did try to sum up herself and her experience with these three men, which brings back to my idea of this movie. Everyone thought they knew who Nola Darling was, and everyone came up with their own conclusions, but didn't mean shit, including Nola herself. Anyway, Greer, he thought Nola had not sought any one of them as a single individual, and I think in some sense he was right. She didn't see any of them as one person, but as some kind of six-legged, six-armed, three-penised monster, right? That gave her whatever she wanted, whenever she wanted, whenever she would call. And when each individual limb started expressing its own individuality, that became a problem to her. And eventually the whole thing fell apart. Not just because she decided, but because she was also dealing with individuals, and she forgot that part too. I like this movie. It's I know in the current environment there's the whole feminist movement, and the narrative moves one way or the other. Oh, women are saying they want this, or men are saying they want that. But if you treat both sides with respect, it becomes very clear. You want this, you want that, and if you don't agree, it falls apart. That's all this thing was trying to say. She had 3 guys she was sleeping with. They were okay with it for a while until they weren't. That was all there was to it. She had this monster she was sleeping with, and she would have loved to keep it, but the main changed. The main changed, and she didn't want to. In this, at least with regards to that relationship, and so the thing fell apart. I liked it. In its simplicity, it was very, biting. It made every guy feel insecure. I'm not sure the effect it had on women. Sharon will tell you more about that, but I know what it made me feel like. Made me feel like suddenly I don't have control. Which is the point.
Oh my god, that's exactly the point.
Which is the point. But what I'm saying now is I feel like the point should have also been to women that you don't have control either, because she was the one with 3 men and she lost all 3.
No, but again,
She has control of herself.
But again,
control over her, but they didn't get it. She won at the end of the day.
No, but again, there's that part where she met the shrink, and basically she told her that the biggest sex organism between your legs is actually between your ears.
Yeah.
So also Nola herself
wasn't
in the beginning you really see her as this confident black woman, knows what she's saying. Then later on they show you that also she's just trying to find herself. Like she has this view of herself.
Yeah.
That isn't perfect, It's not like she's a perfect woman. This is like the model for women. We should all do this,
That's
definitely
exactly.
But the
Nothing
thing is, she wasn't
anything.
trying
That's
to
the
be
basis
that.
of life.
I was just actually giving a point. Just
Yeah.
But
But like, I didn't feel like she was trying to be perfect.
No. But the thing I was saying is that she's also basically in the process of finding herself. Pretty much like all these other guys.
No, that's what I'm saying.
She's finding herself, because even there's this other part when she like breaks up with all of them. She tries, I think, to masturbate.
Yeah, no, but see, that's
And
why
it doesn't
I
work
disagree.
out, so she calls Jamie.
No, but that's why I disagree. The other guys aren't trying to find themselves. They're just trying to possess her.
Exactly.
Is all they're doing.
No, because they all are.
All those men are sure of who they are. Yes, they are.
Because Greer knows who he is, but he's just he's saying, I'm going to be on the cover of GQ magazine. It's just coming up.
No,
Mars,
but in terms of the story,
no, again I'm
it's
saying,
not-
no, even the same thing with Mars. Even when she breaks up, she tells him that you should grow up, So basically, all these people, including Nola, are basically, I feel like, on this journey to like sort of discover themselves and who they are.
The whole story is Nola, and that side characters, there's nothing about their discovery. All their narrative is about Nola.
So what was the point of her going to the shrink? Actually,
It's because that guy told her she had a problem.
And what happened there? What did she learn from going to the shrink?
She learned she had no problem.
That's what the shrink told
That's
her.
all.
Yeah,
Yes, and at the end, she
normal.
realizes she has no problem.
The
and
thing
her
she
view
learned.
is it.
The thing she learned was that the greatest, that line I was telling you when she was like the greatest sex organism between your legs, between your head.
No,
that's
reinforcing the fact that her sex drive was normal.
Yeah,
Wasn't
I
like
know.
she was
Yeah,
a
I know.
hyper- yeah.
Yeah, but again, I say in her expressing her femininity, her being in control of herself.
Yeah.
It didn't have to involve, like, I think in the beginning maybe she had this thing of like, if I have these guys, like, I'm basically like, again, changing roles. If a woman has very many guys, you might think I'm now in control, you get, which you could be, you're the one who's picking, when you want to meet who, all that.
What
but
point
again,
did she say she wanted control of this?
But at the end, when she actually chose Jamie, she even told him no sex, you get, she told him, I'm going to be with you, but there's no sex. And then Jamie loses his shit, It's like you jump from extreme to extreme.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel even her, now that was kind of her awakening. She was like, I don't have to, do all this. It's just basically me getting to know this person. And I think she felt she maybe knew Jamie. Then when she finds out Jamie is also being...
because in the ending monologue, she says going back to Jamie was a mistake. That she
Exactly.
made that she made in the heat of the moment.
Exactly.
Yes.
Why?
But again,
Why?
because she had decided to change for someone when that's not really who she
Exactly.
was or what she wanted.
And first of all, when she called Jamie, like again, I'm telling you, like you might think Nola is this perfect.
We
But just so,
haven't
yeah.
said that. She's
Not even a
very
little.
human, very
But you seem
confused,
to be
which is
disputing
not a bad. We are not.
Yeah.
No.
It's the
not
same thing I'm
disputing
saying.
that.
She's confused. She's just as confused as.
Yeah, she was confused
Exactly.
throughout.
That's what I'm saying, basically. What have I said?
Okay, can we
But
move
she
on?
wasn't-
This won't end, and I don't want this type of argument. Anyway, so moving on. I wanted to talk about the rap scene, which Spike Lee regrets, because he severely regrets that scene. He says that would be actually one of the things that he would change about it. I want to know what you guys thought about that
That was
arc
a
of the
terrible
film.
scene. I hated it.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I watch this movie, I mostly skip through it. Even the last time, because we were doing this review and I watched it for a while and I was watching this movie again, I skipped through that because for one thing it was unnecessary.
Yeah.
For two, it wasn't so much as a betrayal of character. I mean, I could see this guy's rage and whatever. I don't think that was the best way to portray it. I hated it. Okay? I'm not saying that this is like in a cinematic point of view, this wasn't very, compelling or whatever. It's just me as a viewer, I hated this.
Yeah.
I just hated it. I didn't want to see this.
Yeah.
I didn't need to see this. I fucking hated it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't get your root of hate for it though.
Why? Because this. Okay, maybe let me make the scene more clear. Her romantic interest in the three people she was having sexual relationships with. What's his name?
Jamie.
He was feeling frustrated because she was adamant about maintaining her relationship with these other two people.
Yeah.
At some point she got very lonely because these other guys wouldn't be with her anymore and she wanted him, and she got frustrated. She was masturbating and she called him over, and in rage or whatever, their sexual relationship morphed from what it used to be, from a romantic sort of thing to a more just pounding away sort of rape thing, and then he goes away. The movie was alright without it. And it was this weird and comfortable,
I think the point was for it obviously to be uncomfortable, obviously.
Yeah.
In my opinion. But the way I saw it going off of what I had watched of Jamie's character.
It was out of character.
No, it wasn't out of character. Like earlier I had said how you have these elements trying to possess her sexuality. And when you have places where even the seemingly well-intentioned elements are also toxic to her because they're trying to control her. So for me, that scene was this well-intentioned element rearing its ugly head and showing that I actually want to possess you.
Yeah.
Because he goes full-on, pins her down. He goes like full-on aggressive when he realizes he actually can't possess her.
My problem wasn't that they did a rape scene. I'm kawa with that. I was actually okay that they did the rape scene.
Yes.
Just that I didn't like the aftermath of the way
That
it was
she-
glossed over. That was my actual problem. That's one of his regrets. The way he handled it. He did the rape scene, do rape, but handle it in a particular
proper
way.
way.
But the way he handled it, the way she handled it, even
it's
the
like it was
aftermath
glossed over
of
like
it.
she had just had sex.
It
No, also again,
Before we
Oppo's
define
scene.
rape now.
Oppo when she went to see her afterwards after she broke up with all those guys, then she also pulls a move. She kisses her. And Nola is like, leave, Again, as you're saying, that thing of people trying to possess her. I think that father, even the person who you think is a woman, probably understands her better and what she's going through is also on her own thing, you get. So,
Everyone's selfish.
yeah, so.
Including Nola.
Nola herself, that's what I'm saying, she's not perfect.
But
like-
except the difference is she's honest about it.
To whom?
to whom?
To everyone, to
No,
herself.
it's-
She doesn't hide the fact that, I have these dudes on the side and I'm not going to tell you. She invites them to fucking Thanksgiving dinner to meet each other.
Yeah.
It's just like, this is the situation, this is who I am, and they cannot
But
accept
again,
it.
that's as you said, that's her being naive.
Yes,
She
she's
sort
being
of
naive, but
later
she's
on
being
she
honest.
grows up and realizes that none of these people were the right fit.
Yeah.
So I guess that's again what I was saying. Like again, Nola, you might say in the beginning and think she's this
Jamie's quote, she could be brutally honest.
Yeah. So you might think she's that kind of, power. She knows what she's doing, very clear-minded. But as you go on watching it, you realize that she's also not as sure as she is. That's why we even bring up all this borderline rape stuff and all that. It's just very also it's as confusing for her as it is for the other guys, and even for us who are watching.
I love that about her character. All those layers. I think it's a movie I'll rewatch.
Anything else? Kale, so you've been listening to Cinema Red Pill. Sharon, Timothy, Nick, and Joel. And we've been talking about She's Gotta Have It. What do you want to say?
I was just going to say, we haven't even spoken about this movie in context with we've maybe probably hinted on it, but with Spike Lee's other movies, because I feel it's so different. I'm saying you mentioned it with the whole political thing. As in, I don't know, what would you guys prefer? Would you prefer this Black Power or just this guy who's? I prefer this guy. I prefer
this as well. Yeah. Because besides Do the Right Thing, I don't like his political stuff. It gets super heavy-handed, and I personally don't enjoy heavy political messages in my movies. I prefer more visual artistry, character stories. That's just me. So usually when political agendas come up, whether I agree with them or not, I'm like, But yeah.
I'll reference someone we were talking about before, like Sembene, and if you see Spike Lee in his interviews, he's a very political man. I think it's true to who he is, the films he's doing right now. Yeah. And I like how they turn out, most of them. I really like Do the Right Thing better than this. I like Malcolm X a lot. So, yeah, I prefer his political stuff. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Anything else, Tim? Okay. Yep. That's it.